Hi, Felipe here. Have you ever wondered why games sometimes have the option to have a female protagonist and some don't? In a world dominated by men, no, men can be really dumb at times. It's no surprise that maybe in this certain aspect of popular media, there can't be any sexism and gender-based constructs. Right? The first playable female character technically is Miss Pac-Man, which was a sequel to the original Pac-Man games that we all know and love, but the thing is, that character really isn't human. We really don't know what they are, but the actual first ever playable female character to appear on the screen is actually Billy Sue from Wabbit, which came out on the Atari 2600, which is about a farmer girl trying to keep her crops safe. Although there were some games before that came out that had female presence, this was the actual first game to actually show playable female presentation. Obviously, the most recognizable characters throughout the decades have been Samus from Metroid, Lara Croft from Tomb Raider, Chun-Li from Street Fighter, and Shale from Portal, as well as Bayonetta, but we'll get to her in a minute. And these girls have seen major custom changes and model changes over the years. Let me be clear, there are a lot more female characters in video games that are well known, but these are among the few that are talked about the most and have been talked about for a long time. But to think that this game came out way before all of this is really amazing. Although it isn't really well known, it's really great to hear that this was almost like the catalyst to have more female presence in games. Oh, and get this game was actually made by a female programmer. Although we really don't know what happened to her because of some complications or whatever, it's really great to know that this game was actually made by a female programmer. And throughout the decades, we have seen a lot of involvement and evolution in the gaming industry, in which games have seen female leads, and most of these games are still based around men and male people, but we are leaning towards more female leads. In one specific genre, FPS games, there have not really been any strong female leads or female protagonists. Yes, there are games with playable female characters, but in a broader sense, there has not been a game with a female protagonist in FPS games. Some people refer to Metroid as a shooter, but it's not. It's a platformer, which is a whole different category of games. There are many games that have a set formula. You shoot the bad guys, you win. You explore an abandoned ruin and find some treasure. Or as simply as you go explore a vast open world and fight bosses and gain experience. Common video game tropes that surround female characters in gaming is that they need to be saved, and or need to be used for sexual pleasure, or need to be used to gain something else. A very good example of one of these is, you guessed it, chess. No, I'm just kidding. It's Super Mario, one of the most beloved game franchises in the world. Although it has one of the most absurd video game tropes that comes along with it. You are a hero that needs to defeat a villain/boss to save the princess. And that's it. It's the whole damsel in distress video game trope that has been formulated in other games. One of the most common video game tropes in the industry is that females can't play games and or have to stick to certain roles. In popular MMOs, there are classes, and in some communities, girls/females are seen to be playing the support role. Skyrim has different classes and different armor sets, but one of the armor sets that stands out is the fur armor set, which really puts the female into a vulnerable state and almost diminishes them to have power. There are many other gaming tropes that are talked about in the industry. Like in the FPS world, there are certain roles that a player can play. Like in the game Overwatch, there's 3 main roles: tank, DPS, and support role. And in the support role, through the gaming community, it's known that females are supposed to be playing these roles, and they're known as pockets. In a way, this role objectifies women as just an object to better gain the upper hand in the other roles. I personally have played this game, and I constantly play this role. Not well, but it's alright. But through the male gaze, we can see that these tropes are built to make the male players feel powerful and diminish some of the power of women. It's safe to say that most video games have evolved to have beautiful graphics and a lot of storytelling to drag the players in. but many other games use some of the designs of certain genders to drag people in. A lot of well-known games have a female character and or have the main female character on their cover to drag people in. For a male consumer, they see this presence and think, why is there a girl on the front cover? Is the game about them or are we about to romance them in the game? Although there are games which have female characters on the cover and are the main protagonists, there are gameplay trailers that may feature some female entities to drag others in. One huge example of a game which has a female lead is the notorious Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider is an action-adventure game which features Lara Croft going around adventures to gain treasure from ancient cities and defeating bad guys. Sounds fun, right? It is. But the major plot point that I want to talk about is her design. Obviously, in the old days, most graphics looked like this, and technology has evolved to have something more like this. Oh, sorry, I mean this. Lara Croft has gone through many designs, but one certain thing that never changed is her body shape. Her design is appropriate to be fit and athletic, and almost tells male players to look at it like it's an object. Not to mention that the camera in the original game was always moving behind her back, which makes it seem that everybody could see her ass. Obviously now with technology we have more moving cameras in video games, but it is rather weird that the camera itself was almost a motive for the male gaze to apply on how men can be certain characters. One particular topic that comes with the female models is Jiggle Physics. Now, if you're not aware or haven't played any games in the past few decades, there have been a lot of sexual excessive poses and forms of female characters in video games. The male gaze acts in a predatory way in some games, as these physics are implemented by developers unintentionally or intentionally to make the gameplay better.
Women's breast? Don't do that! Okay? That's not what happens when girls walk.
There have been a lot of issues on how females are portrayed in games, to their body shape to their poses. A recent controversy with that pose would be the Tracer Overwatch host drama of 2016. Not to mention that certain characters but expanded while he's in an ability, which has been fixed, but kinda weird of them. These jiggle physics are really prominent in a lot of games, which drag people in. And not just for the male players, there's also female players that look at characters for their body. But most of these poses have been changed and or have gotten backlash from fans to change them. One particular game that comes to mind with a lot of jiggle physics is the series Dead or Alive, which is a fighting game similar to Street Fighter. Most of the female characters have similar models and different sizes of the chest. One specific character in the game that is an example of the male gaze would be Mai Shiranui, who literally distracts the opponents by using her clothes. I wish I was joking, but I went and checked in the official wiki of this, and it's actually true. But besides that, the whole franchise is a male gaze fest. One specific spin-off of these games is literally set in the beach, in which there's water involved. And well, you know where it's going. Dead or Alive Extreme 3, or the Extreme franchise of this game, has a lot of jiggle physics. As a male consumer, they will see this and diminish the power of the woman in a predatory way. Even the main games have had a controversy for its costume choices for their playable female characters in the past. It became such a problem with the outfits that the community had to ban certain costumes in their tournaments, as people would look at the females in a sexual way. The male gaze in this game highly sexualizes women, but that's just one game, which is really overwhelming. But there is another game franchise which challenges but also invites the male gaze. One female character I mentioned at the start of the video is by far one of the most sexual active characters herself, and it's also one of the ones that challenges but also invites the male gaze into her game. Do you want to guess? Yep, it's Toadette from Super Mario. Bayonetta, by far one of the most highly sexualized characters, but also a strong contender on how girls have been raised up in power. Although her suit is made up of her hair, she challenges the damsel in distress in video games, as she is the one that needs to save the world and as far as going to kill a god. I wish I was joking. And she's not the only strong female protagonist we have seen in the past few decades. As I mentioned before, Samus, Lara, and Chun-Li are strong female presentations in games, and show how they have power as a female. But at the same time, the male gaze diminishes them in a way to make them feel like an object. With Lara Croft's camera focusing on her back, with Samus's model outside of the suit, and with Chun-Li's portrayal in other games. Fortnite. Another strong female protagonist, and I believe one of the main ones that made headlines for being either bi or gay, is Max Caulfield from Life is Strange. She focuses on her relationship with Chloe, who is a girl, and does all she can to keep her safe and the town safe from a supernatural thing. Game is really depressing though. But besides that, Max is another strong contender for female protagonists. And throughout the years, and more in the future, we will see strong female protagonists, and they will be more common in today's video games and in today's video game culture. Although in the gaming industry there have been a lot of controversies with the companies like Blizzard and Riot, we have now strived for a movement to have more equality and not have any sexual harassment in the workspace. We are slowly getting there. The most recent controversy is the whole Blizzard Activision controversy, which is really saddening. And on the other hand, Riot, they have had previous allegations, but are now striving towards a more positive environment. I do believe they added a program specifically made for female streamers or female content creators, but I'm not too sure. In conclusion, there is some bad and horrible stuff in the gaming community, but there is also the bright side of it. We have seen many games that have come out which have focused on the relationships of women and their identities. Some of these defy the male gaze to make the player feel like they shouldn't objectify women, as well as diminish their own power. And in the near future, we will all see more girl power in video games, and strive for a better future in which it will be normal to play as a girl. Thank you for watching.